Welcome to Econ 3.5, Cost of Production. Now, remember, we're still talking about supplies, so I need you to stay in that mind frame that you are the producer. You are the company that's selling the good. So when you have a business and you're selling a good, you want your revenue to be greater than your cost because that's where you make profit. So we have to look at cost of production and marginal product of labor. Now remember, I said it earlier. What does marginal mean? You should have just said extra. Marginal means extra. So marginal product of labor, it's an extra product of labor. It's the change in the output that results from hiring one additional unit of labor. That can be one employee. It could be an employee for one additional shift, depending on what that unit is, for one additional hour if you have them work overtime. Increasing marginal returns. This is saying that as you add employees, you're going to have, there's a period of time, doesn't always happen, but there's going to be a period of time where adding employees is going to increase your marginal returns. For example, if I can make 4 beanbags by myself, if you hire a second person, that second between the two of us, instead of making 8, maybe we can make 12 because we're specializing, we're tag teaming. I'll cut this, you sew that, and we're able to produce more. That's what increasing marginal returns is. But eventually, you're going to hire so many employees that instead of increasing, it's going to start to decrease because, like if we're making bean bags and there's only one sewing machine, only one person can sew at a time. I either need to buy more sewing machines or something. There's going to be somebody standing around twiddling their thumbs, not doing anything, and so we're going to start producing less. And eventually, we'll get to a negative marginal return, where we're actually losing units because, again, maybe there's not enough capital equipment to use. If I've only got 2 pairs of scissors and 1 sewing machine, I don't need 20 workers making bean bags. And those idle people will make everybody work less, and you'll start producing instead of, ooh, I hired another employee. We get 2 additional units. It's going to be like, I hired this employee, and we're actually producing less than before we had him. Fixed cost. This is a cost that doesn't change no matter how much of a good or service is produced. Usually that tends to be rent. If you took out a loan for capital goods, for like equipment, things like that. Variable costs are going to be things that rise or fall depending on quantity produced. Businesses' greatest variable cost is labor. It's labor. Now, one could argue, okay, well, salaries, you've got salaried employees. Those are going to be fixed for a year because they do tend to raise. But hourly employees, theirs is going to be variable. And total cost is going to be your fixed plus your variable costs. If you're looking at, and this has a household component to it too, like in my house, my fixed cost would be my mortgage. It's the same every month. However, my electric bill, my gas bill, my water bill, all that change every month. If it's your car, your fixed car would be the payment you have if you have a monthly car payment, or your car insurance. Your variable costs might be your gas. If you have to change the tires, if you have to change the oil, anything you have to have done to it. Marginal cost. Marginal means what? Extra. What does it mean? Extra. So that is the extra cost of adding 1 additional unit. Let's go back to pizza. I use this for a marginal benefit. If I've eaten 2 pieces of pizza and I'm considering a third, I'm probably going to go, what's the cost? Cost of 1 more piece of pizza. Marginal revenue as the seller. How much additional income am I going to get for selling 1 more unit of a good or service? Yeah, I don't want it to be less than what I paid for it. Sometimes that can be equal to the price. If I sell it for $7 and it costs me $7. The average cost. This would be where we take the total cost and divide it by the number of units produced. Because a lot of times it costs you more for the initial units and then cheaper towards the end. So we want to get an average total cost. And then operating costs. These are going to be costs of operating the facility. It can be mortgage. It can be rent. It can be lights, water, payroll, everything. Yeah. So let's talk about making sandwiches for a picnic. The knife you would use is going to be physical capital. We only need to buy it once. We can wash it. We can reuse it. It's physical capital because it's man-made. It's not natural. The labor, the bread, and the sandwich, those are all inputs we put into making this. If it's a beanbag factory, which we're going to talk about, the physical capital might be one sewing machine and one pair of scissors. And again, that's where we can have too many employees if there's only one pair of scissors. So how many bean bags do you think you can produce? How do you know how many to produce, and how many sandwiches should you produce? That's why we have this whole subject of economics, because we have to decide how many workers are we going to hire. We don't want to hire too many, and we don't want to hire too few. So we have to look at marginal product of labor. What is going to be our increase if we add one additional unit of labor? We have to look, are we increasing marginal returns, or are we starting to decrease? And especially, we don't want to get to negative. We do not want to get to negative marginal returns. That is where we're actually producing less with one more employee than we did without them. So here, this is an expensive diamond ring. So you've got to look at the cost of, the jewels, it looks like that's white gold or platinum, the labor, all of that stuff that goes into creating that ring. That's why they're expensive. Now here is marginal product of labor. Okay, remember, marginal means, what is it? Extra, yes. So if I have 0 workers, I'm not producing anything. This is our starting point. But when I hire one person, I hire myself, yay, I'm working. I can produce 4 bean bags an hour. And so that difference, if I went from 0, oops, sorry, I thought I had the pen. If I went from 0 to 4, that's where I get a marginal product of labor of 4. I get 4 extra bean bags from hiring one employee. Now, if I hire a second employee, we can produce 10 units. So 10 minus 4 means gaining that second employee gives me 6 additional units. I hire a third employee. You can see the difference is 7. So right here we have increasing marginal returns. My number's going up. Well, now I hire the 4th employee. I'm starting to go down. I'm still getting 6 though. I'm going to hire this 4th guy. I'm still getting 6 additional bean bags, but it's not as much as it was at 7. And so now you're starting to see I'm diminishing. And this is where I get into, this is bad, negative returns. So when I hire that 8th person standing around doing nothing, probably everybody else is going, why does he get to do nothing? I'm going to do nothing. And you actually start producing less. Mm-hmm. Why could be a reason? Well, if we only had one sewing machine, one pair of scissors, yeah, there's only so much people can do. Paying workers and producing like equipment that you need, those are capital goods. Those are expenses. And so economists as well as accountants, if you've taken accounting, you know this too. You've got fixed and variable costs, okay? Fixed cost plus variable cost equal your total cost, and you want your total cost to be less than your revenue in order to make a profit. If it's greater than your revenue, you're taking a loss. Yeah. So here's production costs. We got a lot of numbers here. Fixed cost here, you can see it's $36. That's probably rent. Variable cost, you can see this changes. This can be labor, this can be materials. We add them together and we get total cost. So marginal cost or extra cost is going to be the difference here. The difference between $36 and $44, that's 8. It costs me $8 additional to produce 1 bean bag. When I go from 1 bean bag to 2, it costs me an additional $4. And you can see these diminish, and then they'll start increasing again. We are selling the bean bags, $24. We're making about $24 an hour. And so you can see our total revenue here. 24 times 1 is 24. 24 times 2 bean bags is 48. And so if we don't produce anything, we're taking a loss because we still have to pay that lease on our building. If we produce 1 bean bag, we're losing $20 an hour. We've covered some of our costs, but not all of them. And $2, 2 bean bags is our breaking even point. So 2 bean bags an hour, we're not losing money, but we're not making any money. And nobody wants to be in business like that. How do we know how many bean bags to stop at? Well, I can tell you. It's right here. This is a huge concept in supply. It's where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. That's when you stop. That 10th unit, that 10th bean bag there, costs me as much to make as I'm selling it for. I want to stop right there. If I go to 11 bean bags, I'm now starting to lose money. Look, $98 an hour. Why do I want to go to $92 an hour? No way. I want to stop right here. I don't want to produce anything more than 10 an hour. Again, marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Anytime I'm talking about supply and I don't know the answer, I can always go marginal cost equals marginal revenue because that's true in there somewhere. Now here, this looks like a computer chip company. To maximize the profits, you've got to identify the amount of labor that will help the company make the greatest profit. And it's where marginal cost equal marginal revenue. Again, I said it again. See, it works. And here it is again. Our ideal output level is when price paid at market is equal to the marginal cost to produce. And this is also equal marginal revenue. How much additional money are you getting from selling that one unit? That's the price paid at the market. When it's equal to marginal cost to produce it, we stop. No more. Now, this is going to be an average total cost curve here. Okay. And I always can draw it because I know it's cost on the y-axis, output on the x, and this looks like a check. See? Ooh, it's a check. Because initially our costs are really high, then they go down, and then they'll increase. So it's a check. And you can see here at the original price, if we do $24 for bean bags, we'll produce 10 an hour. But if we up to the price to $37, marginal cost equals marginal revenue now at $12. It's not $12, sorry, 12 units. Yeah. So if we raise the price, we're going to up it to 12 units. Now, if the price fell to 20, 25, 30, so that would be here. So let's do this one. I can't make a dotted line. So we're probably going to fall down to about 9. I think that's a 9. Yeah. So if we drop the price to 20, we would stop at 9 bean bags. And that is all for 3.5. Hope you enjoyed learning about supply, and I'll see you for the next lesson.